told you a few minutes ago that the most robust sector of our economy, the energy sector, has been withering thanks to the Biden administration. But that's not the only part of our economy that's in trouble. For generations, America produced the most and the best comedians in the world. This was the funniest country on earth because it was a free country. Comedy requires, above all, independence and honesty. You can't be reading talking points from anybody. You have to be telling the truth about them. That's the whole point. And the second you start sucking up, you only humiliate yourself. Well, late night television, they've been sucking up to people in power for several years now. They haven't resigned their jobs because they pay well, but they do continue to humiliate themselves. If you tuned in at any point over the last year, you saw things like this.
The Cuomo brothers, you and your brother Chris, tied as the most desirable men in New York. Now, as an older brother, can you abide by a tie? Do you want to do anything right now to push yourself over the top in terms of desirableness? You want to loosen the top button? You want to give us a smoldering stare? Anything?
I have to ask for a friend. They want to know, I won't say her name. She wants to know, what phase of dating are you currently in?
Zero. I'm at phase 0 on dating. There's no duration on phase 0.
Yeah.
There is no automatic time that you go to phase 1. You could study at phase 0 for months. I think New York City will be fully reopened before I get out of phase 0 on dating.
It's so awful to watch. The fake over your laughter, the stupid lines, the endless sucking up. And the saddest part is some of these guys, the people you just saw, used to be legitimately talented. They were funny, but they gave it up in order to read the script. Sad as hell to watch. Last night, the new version of the script told them, you better change your opinions on Andrew Cuomo. No more sucking up. So dutifully, they did.
Well, guys, it was a big day here in New York as Andrew Cuomo announced that he's resigning as governor. During his remarks, he said it was best that he step aside. And then every woman in the room took 2 steps aside. During his announcement, Cuomo said that he's stepping down in 14 days. I'm sorry, but is this really a 2-week notice type of situation?
Beautiful day here in New York City. Oh, yeah. 85 degrees, 75% humidity. And this afternoon, Andrew Cuomo resigned. Don't let the door hit you on the butt on the way out. But if it does, that door should also resign.
You think when he comes home, his wife says, good job? No self-respect.
It's true, man.
Mark Stein
It's true. I won't lie. All these comedians are now who sucked up to Cuomo are now like talking shit to him. And I would too. I have totally understood.
Guys were legitimately talented
at one point, but I got to say, after those last clips you played of Colbert and Fallon, the boy that said you like that Cuomo sexual conversion therapy really works fast. I mean, they turned it around.
They sure did, man. They turned that thing around quick.
And now they're doing crackerjack
because women watch their shows.
What was that line?
Yeah, man.
Wrote for him. Oh, Cuomo said he was going to step aside.
Jimmy Fallon and all them guys. Hey.
All the women took 2 steps aside. It's amazing to me. They have like 37 writers on the writing staff, and they met for hours, and they tested those lines. And that's the best they can come. Now, you have to see the problem from Fallon and Colbert's point of view. They can't do anything genuinely funny about the guy being a blood-soaked butcher. They can't do any sharp comedy on that. They can't do any comedy about how pitiful it is.
ESPN.
They're all going on.
Man, no disrespect, man, but that's why you shouldn't suck up to politicians. Because they'll let you down. You don't know these people. strike.
Pitches off the face mask. He stayed in the game for the top of the first inning and then did not hit in the bottom of the first inning. They are evaluating him. One strike. That's outside. 2 balls and a strike.
Well, you look at it, we've been following up doubleheader 7-inning games. This right now is a 7-inning game for both Dodgers and Phillies, and the Dodgers positioned well with Turner leading off the top of the third.
It was a 53-minute rain delay. Turner on the ground. Deep wall. First to hit Turner. Down the line. There's one man back. Turner for 2 in the game. Infield for the Phillies. Angel McCutcheon is in left field. Odell Herrera is in center. Bryce Harper is in right field. Gibson 83, 279, and almost over for Texas. His numbers against the Dodgers is all set on the moment to the 771 ERA. The thing that scares you a little bit about the Dodgers is they have been terrific against right-handed pitchers. Max Muncy flipped to left. First pitch. Step side, says Jeremy Riggs, ball 1. So Gibson throws that sinker 35% of the time.
A Dodger uniform is awesome.
This is inside, 2 balls and no strikes. The way that Judge Martin described Gibson was pitchability. His emotion on the mound is terrific. There are his pitches and the way he breaks them up. So, in a sense, sacred guy, but he throws the good 4 about the same percentage of the time. Last pitch to Cutter at 2-0. That one is on the inside. It is too far inside. 4-seam fastball. 3-0 to Max Muncy.
Ron Gardenhire managed the Twins used to tell me that Gibson's the kind of guy who hides from you in between innings so you can't find him, so you can't take him out of the game. That's how much he loves to compete.
A 3-0, and that's on the top of the strike zone, and Muncy will stay on the bars. The leading runs created plus of 113 against righties. Eduardo is third best in baseball. And look, the Dodgers hit everybody. They're pitching. They walk is leading any team in baseball second in that category. And they do have the right-handers numbers as Muncy slow roller and thick ball. He's able to pick it up as he bounces left and right over the bag. They're 2 out.
Now, I really love the fact that Albon right there recognized that that ball was going to stay there. He got an angle right on the line to make sure that he wasn't going to. He was going to attack that baseball. Once he saw it was going to stay fair and wasn't going to hit the bag, he waited on it. Nice play right there by Allen.
Gibson, good start against Turner and Muncy and Alligator Smith, who walked in his first plate appearance. That was against the reliever Connor Brock. High strike. Gibson goes from Texas, last place team to a team in a race, and he described that the energy and ambiance is hard to dream of. He said it was hard to imagine the impact it would have on him. His mental exceeded every one of his expectations, and a good curveball in there for a strike. You're a little down on it, just the analytics suggest that it's not great. Gibson in Philadelphia. But so far, so good.
So far, so good, Carl. And again, the fact that Gibson, because he pitched in pitcher's ballpark, had excellent defense with the Rangers. A lot of people thought in the analytics that really benefited him going overseas and spent ball. The team also had a ton more to the hitters than the pitchers. And also, you deal with the defense of the Phillies that has not been good. It is not a good mix for Gibson the way he pitches. But so far, early reports are that it's been great for the Phillies and Gibson.
Over 2 and get Will Smith to chase. So occasions if you play Muncy is the key of that.
50 is an example of why it's so difficult to pick to him right there. Now there's swinging strikes and then throw strikes. Sounds really simple, but if you do that, you have a chance to do pretty good. His last start, Gibson had a rare hit. It was a big hit.
Ripped. Out.
Subway has so much food. I ran out of time in the last day.
I'll take it from here. Sorry, Steph. Spokesperson refresh.
Wait, what?
Subway just upped their branding with the help of some world-class makers. Looking at you now. Got a refresh to be fresh.
How many people are in this?
That means freshly baked, new artisan Italian, and hearty multigrain. Go good with. Seriously? I didn't even get to finish. I'll see you next commercial.
Critics and audiences can't stop talking about the year's finest film, Free Guy. Blue Shirt Guy. It's a headline. It's an absolute blast.
This is the first time I've ever been called for.
I really like your mention that. Yeah.
Free Guy, 13.
Big Bobby, today the road is your classroom. Now, let's go borrow a boat and make some bad decisions. Time to go with your gut. Time for your extracurriculars. Come on, Leo.
Really? Free testing and charging?
And if you need a new one, we've got you.
Welcome to America's #1 battery destination. AutoZone, your battery solution.
It's the best time of the year. Funny intros, the dances, and the friendships. The band plays, the rallies. The town's going crazy, and everybody's sliding down their hair. Let's see some days. And what's just fun. The Little League Baseball World Series was in St. Louis. Begins Thursday, August 19th on the networks of ESPN.
Playing left field, Andrew McCutcheon, the big offensive Canada from all back. Okay. Feeling pretty good on that one. Bench now. Yes, sir. He got Will Smith by 10 feet. He is a great dancer. He's a great singer. He and Stephen Vogt should be in the talent show for Major League Baseball. That would be fine. Kyle Gibson, he had that be his last game, and he looks to strike one. David Price, we talked a lot about Bruce Taylor being the Swiss Army knife for the Dodgers and one of the great utility players in baseball. David Price is a bit of a reliever and starter. After Kyle Gibson, his last 2 games.
About time. I got a routine too, dude. Hey man, how you doing? Hey dude, to know this, I hope I didn't go off the deal last night where okay, good, because I went, I think I was he doesn't think that. And I went, let me send. Yeah, I was like this. I went, holy shit, man. Did I? Okay, all right. Good. See, you know what really puts you in a crazy mood is when you start talking radio guy. Yeah, me too, man. I hate that guy. No. I've got a new one for you. You ready? And this is me and you listening to them. Chris and Dan, listen, do you think we can have a meeting? We got a potential sponsor that we would like to potentially bring aboard the network here, and condoms, and reusable, and Chris, how can we would like to put a segment in like a couple of the shows on how we can sell these ideas. Well, what demonstration how? Are we using thumbs here, or are we using something else? Okay, so I'm assuming just by your tenure right now that you're not a fan of this client. Using talent. Yeah. I mean, how many times you've been in them things? Yeah. Hey, do you think he'd be open to selling weed? Yeah. No, I don't think you should when you're selling radio. I think there's got to be a line somewhere. And you know what? You know when you hear it. Well, then he must have missed out, because, to my opinion, gambling and the CBD stuff, if you're, well, I'm going to tell you flat out, the CBD can always be tied into marijuana use too. I mean, in my opinion, it's one of the fastest growing industries. And let me just say this to you, people: if you have some moral compass against that, and you're putting oxycodones and CVSs and all that other shit, you need to really take a look at yourself on that stuff. Absolutely. Why not alternatives? Why not alternatives? Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to find one of those places, because normal mainstream radio, I think, are still afraid of it. But to me, I mean, well, or how about, yeah, no. I think if you look at this correctly, and like you said, and you pitch it, Chris, like alternative, I think you get over on it when you pitch alternative. Yeah. Good evening, America. Dan Sileo, USA Radio. Hopefully everybody is having a great end to their day, and what a way to do it here on the Happy Hour of Radio, the Dan Sileo Show. Welcome aboard with us as we take you around not only just the sports world, but the guy talk world. You know, I was asked today to describe my radio show. You know what? I want to give you the perfect comparison of a legendary television show. Now, I'm not suggesting to you it's as well written as that thing was. But to me, it's like Seinfeld. And I tell you this, what's your show about? I don't know. We just talk about things that are going on in the world. And in my world is mostly sports. I throw politics in there. I throw entertainment in there as well. I'm entertaining, I hope. Well, at least my wife says that. Well, at times. She says I can't tell a joke to save my life. But I'm pretty good at like one-liners. Other than that, I'm not a very good joke teller. I can't tell a joke to save my life because I can't remember them. Okay? All that being said, though, that's kind of what my show is. It's like, I was asked to describe it today. And I said, I don't know, Seinfeld. Jerry just did things that were going on in his life. It's perfect. If you think about Seinfeld and how well Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld created that thing, it really was about the day in the life of two dudes living their life. That's so simple, but yet it's the ultimate reality show. And I would tell you this, that was really, in my opinion, the very first reality show. And, Larry David is brilliant. Curb Your Enthusiasm. You watch that, you see he's the genius behind all that. It's almost like method acting. These guys aren't really acting. They're just going through their life. Funny, too. Don't you find yourself having Seinfeld moments each and every single day? You drop something on your foot. You do something crazy. That's kind of what I told this person today. We were going over trying to put a bio together on the show. And I was like, yeah, we just kind of, that's why, you know what? My show's so topical. It's what's going on right now. Somebody sent me from the NFL on Fox just a couple minutes ago before I went on the air. They sent me, who is the greatest football player to have been hurt, career-ending injury, that you would say, if you had a chance to see this guy's career play itself out, what career would it be? And I said, it's just simple. It's Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson's the greatest athlete I've ever been around. That's the kind of things that I'm talking about. It kind of like a fish in a pond, you see the next lure kind of thing. So, all right, let's start where I saw this story earlier, and I want to start with cancel culture. I want to start with knee-jerk reaction. I know many of you have been listening to politics all day, especially on many of our great affiliates here. Politics. Cancel culture is everywhere, right? It's funny how it applies to certain people, but it doesn't apply to other people. I think we all understand that. I don't have to dissect it for you. You're not an idiot. You see what happens. You know if you're a liberal or conservative. You know you're getting more latitude. Hello, how you doing? I want to start in the state of Texas. There was an investigation a couple years ago into the Baylor football program and into Baylor University for sexual misconduct by the sports program. And it really ended up knocking out pretty much everybody at that campus, including the president. I think Ken Starr, if I'm not mistaken, I think he ran the investigation. The guy who did Whitewater and was all involved with the Clinton stuff, I think he was involved with all that when it came to investigating what went on at Baylor University. You see, inside that whole investigation, what they did was, what Baylor tried to do was, it tried to pin the misconduct of the players on one man. They tried to do it on Art Briles, the head football coach. You know when he comes back now, after a 5-year investigation? Art Briles had nothing to do with the sexual misconduct. It was the police department, along with the athletic department, that was involved in it. Briles was not involved. He was actually exonerated in the whole thing. And what they ended up doing was they ended up making him a scapegoat. You know what happened in the very end? This guy lost his reputation. Every job that he tried applying for, do you know what ended up happening? They They tarred and feathered him. Bryles tried to get a job in Canada. They brought it up that he was a guy that was in charge of sexual misconduct in a football program that was out of hand. He tried to get another job at another smaller school. No way. The cancel culture went after him. What do you say now when he's been cleared? What do you say now after what you've done to that man's reputation without waiting for the facts? Is he just collateral damage? I'll give you an example of collateral damage that nobody gives a rat's ass about. You know that piece of crap, Al Sharpton, and all those guys like Jesse Jackson? Do you remember that Duke lacrosse case? How they destroyed 4 lives? They said that these 4 lacrosse players raped this one girl. Turned out the district attorney lied. Nobody ever apologized to those kids. They were thrown out of Duke. Reputations were tarnished forever. Getting jobs has been almost impossible for those guys. Because you know why? After the years, you're still known as the kids that were involved in the Duke lacrosse rape case. Nobody apologized to them. What happened to those guys? I never hear an apology for people making mistakes like that. They just gloss over it and just run away from it and just go to the next cancel culture victim. It's like what Rush Limbaugh used to say. It's drive-by media stuff. It's actually so discouraging. If you're somebody who now I know why people don't run for public office. Why would I want to go through that where you dig something up from my past that I have to answer for it and you don't like it? You know, I've learned something. You can cancel anybody. Anybody can be. Joe Biden can be canceled. It's who they want to cancel. If you're a conservative, you'll be canceled. If you've got anything in your past. By the way, I'll give you an example of what's going on currently right now with Andrew Cuomo. You know how many people are saying because we're in the now right now and we're in the present, Cuomo's finished? No way. No way. You had a guy in Washington for 40 years that was involved in the death of a woman at Chappaquiddick. And because his last name was Kennedy, served this country, and nobody ever brought that stuff up. You know what his penance were? He couldn't be president of the United States, but he could be a senator of the United States for 40 years. Don't tell me Andrew Cuomo is not going to he's not going to reinvent himself again? Absolutely. Elliot Spitzer almost reinvented himself. If it wasn't for those emails with the Clinton aide, he would have been back. He had his show on CNN. He's going to do exactly what Urban Meyer did. Urban Meyer had all those troubles with that coach who was beating his wife in Ohio, went on Fox, became an analyst. Now he's the head football coach in Jacksonville. TV, you repair your relationships with people. You repair your reputation. Because you know why? Media people will pick a darling, and what they'll do is they'll turn him into a sympathetic figure. Andrew Cuomo will be a sympathetic figure in a year. He will be, because you know why? He's too good. He's too good, and he's too talented. He's a talented Democrat. Don't think he's not. That guy's talented. You know what he has all the intangibles of? He's a phenomenal liar. He's good at his job. And he knows how to manipulate people. Perfect politician. He's the perfect politician. Gee, it sounds like some scumbag coaches I know. Reputation. Hey, reputation rebuilder. Okay? Reputation rebuilder. That's what this will be. He'll be finished. Are you crazy? Today is. Everybody piles on because you know why? They have to. If this was any other kind of crime for Andrew Cuomo, oh my God, because of the Me Too stuff, he would have totally gotten over. How about the governor from Virginia with that blackface? Well, you can't really prove it's me, so it's not. What about the guy who runs Canada? That guy, same thing. What you do is you just you do it. Take it from the Clinton playbook. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. And you just outrun it. What you do is you just make it go away by, you know what, ignoring it. Oh, Andrew Cuomo has a chance to come back even bigger. Oh, yeah. Because you don't have really too many stars on the Democratic side. By the way, you have no stars on the Republican side. Zero. You have nobody. There's nobody on that Republican side that I would go like this. That guy's going to be my coach. I wouldn't want any one of them guys. Who, Jim Jordan? Give me a break. Give me a guy. One guy. And don't say DeSantis. That guy does not inspire me. Andrew Cuomo, though, makes you go like this. This guy's pretty slick. He's pretty slick. Yeah. And by the way, the AG in New York, it's totally political. You know, I was talking to somebody earlier about this. So you're telling me that this stuff has been going on while he's been governor in New York for all these years. How many years has he been there now? What is it, 12 years, 11 years? He's been the governor. How many terms now? 3? I think he was shooting for 4 now, right? Am I right? Something like that? You're telling me in that whole process, nobody was going to come forward until when? After January 20th, that's when they came forward. When Trump was out of the White House officially and Biden was put in as president, that's when everyone started putting their cases against Cuomo. Because you know what? He was useless then after that. They didn't need him. He was awesome battling Trump every day. Remember, we would go from one press conference to another. The federal government's not helping. Even though they were sending up boats and they were doing whatever they want, Cuomo was just absolutely the darling of everybody. So when it comes to being like, and believe me, this started when I said Art Briles. He'll never recover his reputation. He'll never recover it because they don't want him. They don't need him. Briles was sacrificed. Nobody will apologize for that. I would hire him in 10 seconds. He's a phenomenal coach. He reinvented Baylor football. You know that gigantic $75 million stadium that they have built on their campus? Art Briles is completely responsible for that. If it wasn't for what Art Briles was doing and put a Heisman Trophy winner in that place too. Do you know the story of Art Briles? Do you know who he is? He's a quality man. Cancel culture. Guys are scumbags. All of you really are. I want to hit on some news we got from the Colts. I want to expand a little more on Art Briles from Baylor. We'll do it next. Keep it on the Dan Sileo Show. Oh, always do that. Always do that. It's good. Chris Sims. Oh, good. Buckaroo. Buckaroo. Yeah. 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 Was the Buckaroo guy. You know, Al Davis tried to sue the Bucks because the logo was too close to the Raiders. I saw it. I'm going to use it. Just know this, that they're tied into a lot of casinos. And Adelson's dead now, so I know Fred knew him. By the way, the Knights love Fred. You should tell him that I got a message. He probably knows the guy that I know. Jim Farola said that Fred's a good man. Crazy, he said that. But it was the leagues that but what happened, dude, to me, is completely the gambling thing that has eased up on that. And I say this, I used to think the Rays were going to be the team that moved to Vegas. I completely believe it's the A's. No. You know what, though? I'll tell you this about, okay, I don't like American soccer. That doesn't mean I don't like soccer. What I have a problem with is that we don't do a very good job in this country at developing talent, because you know what it is? It's pay to play. And no, but what I mean by pay to play, if you don't, okay, right. Dan Sileo, USA Radio Network. I want to hit. We were just talking about a topic on my in the timeout, and like, if you don't know anything about how we do our show, we do our normal radio show, but in the breaks here, we kind of talk about other things. Chris O and myself, so we're kind of like doing two shows all at once. You're on my YouTube channel, or if you're on my Twitch channel, you know what I'm talking about. And we were just talking about soccer, and he goes like this, hey, there's potentially some signs here that maybe MLS may land in Vegas. Vegas, San Diego, there were a couple other places that they were talking about potentially putting a franchise. It makes total sense. I am not against soccer. I'm against soccer in America because we don't do it right. When you're around the world, impoverished kids, poor kids, everyone in these countries, Argentina, Peru, name the country, Bolivia, all these places, France, Italy, you go over to Europe, they open it up for everyone. And what they do is they bring you into these academies. Do you know what you do in America? It's pay to play. If you don't go to one of these $25,000 a year camps, you ever notice why Americans don't have the best players in the world? Chris just said it, imports. Yeah, and that's not a bad thing, but they got to compete on the world stage. And by the way, where were they again in the Olympics? I don't even know what they finished. 10th? America's nowhere in soccer. How's that possible when you got Costa Rica, who has barely indoor plumbing? That country is a player in the world when it comes to World Cup soccer, but not America. How is that possible? Because you know why? You turned it into a white guy country club sport. You'll never compete with Argentina and Brazil. You could be a poor kid like Pele, and you can reach your dreams. If you're a soccer kid in America, you can't. Unless you're from means and you're from a very rich family. Every kid that plays on those teams are from loaded families. Do you know how much money it costs to go to those Ajax camps? And they hijack the kids. You know what? How do you think you're going to get an inner city kid from Washington, D.C. to play soccer in this country when he can barely afford shoes? Well, it's what it is. Of course it's what it is. That's why we suck. That's why MLS is dumb. Now, when you change that method of how you pick your kids, then you'll be a player in the world. You ever wonder why Michael Jordan, LeBron James don't want to play soccer? Do you know what the highest paid job in the world is? You think it's American football or NBA basketball? Do you know what those soccer guys make around the world? They make $50 million a year, the top guys. Those soccer guys are the most recognized dudes on the planet. Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, those guys are the biggest stars in the world, not in America. You think Ronaldo and Messi are stars here, but not like Brady and LeBron. No way. You walk into Washington, D.C. or Chicago or Dallas, maybe Dallas, because Dallas is a pretty good soccer city. You go anywhere around the country, like inner city places, Detroit, well, know who them dudes are. Well, know who them places are, man. Soccer, you ever notice why they stop at high school? Why? Because you have to go to those camps and put $25,000, $35,000 a year up. Ask. You know who told me that story? Major soccer guys. Landon Donovan told me. All right. I want to hit a little bit more up on our Bryles. Got some news today about Carson Wentz. We'll do it next. I would say that the only soccer matches I've ever watched have been Premier League. I would never watch a minor league. MLS is minor leagues. I don't watch minor league baseball. I like that as a TV series, The Italian, starring Big Sills. Yeah, we have a great TV show though. The Honeycongers are really plays every night too. I Love Kong. He also plays. Oh my God! You rub the coconut, and it's one of the absolutely best series we've ever had on the island. That's a little bit we have to play after 7:30 because it gets a little racy. Funny, man. Okay. Yeah, funny, man. Funny show. The guy waddles around too. We have a guy that's on the south side of Skull Island that's really, really good. Norm, his name is like, his name is Kongsley. It's Sherman Kongsley, I think it is. Oh, really? Big time. Yeah, but that to me is, they've asked me my opinion on it. I told them I'm not a really big watcher. My wife likes it, but not me. Mrs. Kong will watch a couple episodes. She's got it all taped and stuff, and yeah. It's called Kong Communications. Really great cable service. No. Kong Glue's good and all, but that that's where you play, No. I like Kong Vision. It's got a big picture of me on it. Crushing short arms. Yeah. The Godzilla screeching was the best, though. I mean, it's iconic, man. Yeah, I do too. What I would have done is I would have used the original screech. That thing was great. Wow, that's a reach for me. I'm not. Yeah, no, that's not working for me. Dan Sileo, USA Radio Network. How you doing, everyone? Wow. Make it calm. I'm going to leave it there. Unless you're watching me on social media. Yeah, it's not, I'll tell you what. Easily misled. That's the story of my life. Easily misled. Dan Sileo, USA Radio Network. Oh, by the way, Chris Sims will join us. We had Phil Sims the other day. Chris Sims from NBC Sports will join us. We'll talk a little bit about the upcoming season, and we will talk about his famous quarterback rankings that are getting ready to come out. And how about this, too? We got the NFL exhibition season coming up this week. This is the first true week of exhibition football, and it starts tomorrow night. So we're here, friends. We are here. Listen, I want to, after I got off on my little diatribe on soccer here, I want to go back a little bit to Art Briles here, and I just saw a line on the bottom here, a crawl on the bottom here at ESPN, and it said that no sexual accusations or cases against Baylor are going to be put towards the school's probation. They are going on probation. What that means, yet to be determined. The NCAA will put that out in the next couple of days. But the reputation of Art Briles was destroyed in this whole process. They thought that what they were going to do, let me tell you what the NCAA tried to do again and failed again. They tried to put something that they have no right to do in front of a school when it came to sexual misconduct or any kind of legal issues. That is not their jurisdiction. Remember what happened in the Penn State case? Remember what the NCAA did? What did they do? They came in and they fined the school $60 million. They put them on 10 years probation. They wiped all the records of Joe Paterno out when it came to wins because of all the things that happened with the Jerry Sandusky case. Do you know what happened the next year? Do you folks know? They were completely dropped, every one of those sanctions. Because you know why? The NCAA has no jurisdiction over legal issues. If somebody rapes a kid at Penn State, at Baylor, that's not the NCAA's job. That is nowhere in their bylaws that says that they can put a school on probation for that. They were made for one reason. You know what that is? To be a watchdog over the kids. They tried expanding their legal presence on these schools, and get this, nobody was monitoring them. You know who ended up coming down on them? Law enforcement. You don't have any right to put this on a football program. You have no right to find a school for if a kid is raping another kid. That's the police matter. That's for the police, the district attorney, and law enforcement. The NCAA is not a law enforcement entity. Jesus criminy. They tried to get involved in it again at Baylor. And they were slapped in the face again. They were slapped in the face a couple of months ago when one of the Supreme Court justices, I think it was Brett Kavanaugh, came out and said, "You're not above the law, guys," when it came to the likeness of the players and then being able to make money off their name and likeness. Man, you need to torch this thing. The NCAA, in my opinion, boy, I'll tell you something. You ruin lives, and you have no right to. They really need to end this thing. And the quicker, the better. I mean, what are they around for? What's your job now? What is your job? Oh, I forgot. I know what it is. To tell Reggie Bush you can't have his Heisman back. Because the things you're now doing to let kids make money, he did a couple years earlier. So you got to keep some type of integrity. How dumb is that? Man. See, I'm figuring if you blow up the NCAA, and that's a euphemism, please, and you get rid of it, okay, and you just completely get rid of it, maybe Reggie can get his Heisman back then, because then you're not going to have to answer to somebody. I wish to God they had somebody like Dana White, the guy who runs UFC, because he'd be a great commissioner, or Greg Sankey, who runs the Southeastern Conference. Because let me tell you a little story about Art Briles. Art Briles gets hired as the head coach at Baylor, turns that program completely around. Everybody loves Baylor football. You know, Baylor football becomes one of the biggest sports football programs in the state of Texas. You know that's a big deal, right? In case you're keeping score, if you've got the best football program, college football-wise, in the state of Texas, you're going places. But you know what happens in the state of Texas? When you get too big for your britches, that's SMU. They knock you down to size because you can't be bigger than A&M and you can't be bigger than Texas, because this is the alumni people. When SMU got big, what'd they do? They clipped that thing down to where, guess what? They stopped the program. Whoa. This thing's beating Texas now? They're beating A&M? Whoa. That's what happened to Briles. You know when Art Briles, when he was a player for Bill Yeoman at Houston, I don't know if you know the story. Bill Yeoman was this legendary Houston Cougar coach and completely put the Houston Cougar program on the map. They used to be in the Southwest Conference back in the day. What a great football program. Used to play against Notre Dame all the time in the Cotton Bowl. Houston was a huge program, huge college football program. And Bill Yeoman was a legend. Well, fast forward. Art Briles played for him one day at the Cotton Bowl, getting ready for the Cotton Bowl, getting ready to play Arkansas. Coach Yeoman comes up to him, goes, "Hey, I got to tell you something." And he waited till after the game. He goes, "Hey," Briles goes like this. He knew something was up because a couple folks that were supposed to be there weren't there. He looked over at Bill Yeoman. Yeoman goes, "Hey, son, I got to tell you something. Your mother and father were killed on their way to the Cotton Bowl to watch you play." Bill Yeoman looked at his player, Art Briles, and he said, "Both of them?" He goes, "Both are dead." Yeah. Put his arm around the kid. Art Briles went on to be a coach. Wanted to make impacts on people's lives. Wanted to teach kids about family. Wanted to teach kids about faith. Got caught up in a cesspool at Baylor, and they tarred and feathered his reputation. If you've never run into Art Briles like I have, I do not believe that he knew any of the things that were going on like that. If anything, he probably said, let's help the kid, but he ain't playing. You know, you can help a kid. I'm going to give you another story of a coach who helped a kid. You tell me if you think this is bad or if you think this is good. And by the way, when I tell you this story, this is going to be pretty salty. So a guy gets in trouble with I'm talking Bryles first here. Guy gets in trouble with a sexual assault case. You think you should help the kid? Or you think you should not help the kid? Or you think you should just send him away? How would you handle that if that was your son? You promised the mother and father when you went into their house you would handle it. You know how I would handle it? I'd tell the kid, you ain't playing. You ain't playing. I'm going to straighten your life out here. I'm not going to take your scholarship away from you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the thing you love the most away from you, and that's football. You're not going to play football here. Unless something changes in that time frame, you ain't playing. But you're going to be a quality man. And what you're going to do is you're going to do everything in your power to make this right. And if you make God help you, you make it right, I don't know. We'll see when we get there. But I'm going to do everything I can to help the kid and the victims at the same time. See, what you do with a football player is you take the things away that they love. And what is that? It's the game. It hurts them. Hey, finding players when you're in the pros, come on, man. Take the game away, then we got an issue. Then you get somebody's attention. I'll tell you a story about a coach that I played for. So there was this coach back in the day that coached the University of Florida. His name was Galen Hall. And Galen Hall was a tremendous football coach. By the way, he was Joe Paterno's very first quarterback at Penn State. And he was just – his Florida program was so good. I think they were at one time 9-1-1, 10-0-1, 9-1-1, something like that. There was a time frame. They were on probation because the previous coach, Charlie Pell, had done some shady things and it put the University of Florida on probation. And I'm going to tell you something. I played against them teams. Florida's had some pretty good teams since. Those teams are the best teams they've ever had. They were freaking incredible. So fast forward to the 85 year. I'm not going to name you the player. I'm just going to name you the situation. Player comes to Galen Hall, and Charlie Bailey, who was the defensive coordinator. By the way, I would play for these guys in the World League of American Football with the Orlando Thunder. He was my defensive coordinator, and Galen was my head coach. And it was one of the greatest times of my life playing for him. He was such a man's man, and I loved playing for Galen. It was one of the best coaches I ever played for. And I see why players love playing for Galen. And this is a Kane talking about a Gator guy. Well, get this. He was kicked out of football for life. For life. This is what happened. One of the players comes to him. Says, Coach, I got a girl pregnant. And we're both students here in Florida. By the way, this player, I won't tell you the pro team he went to because you might figure it out. He ended up getting drafted, like in the first round. And he says, yeah, I got her pregnant. And Galen goes, what do you want to do? He goes, well, we decided we want to have an abortion, the both of us. So Galen brings both of them in, talks to them. And she's a student. She's a pre-med student. He's a huge star that's going to get drafted in the NFL. And he does. He goes in the first round, like I said. Galen takes $250 out of his pocket, gives it to him so they can have an abortion. That got public. And look at the optics of it. Head coach paying for abortion for a player who gets a student pregnant. How does that look optically? Do you know that those two are still together today? They have a family of 5. And Galen wanted to make sure that these were people that were going to be together for a long time. Turned out they've been married 35 years. Was Galen wrong to do that? Or was he right? What would you do? What would you do? Would you do the right thing? But what is the right thing? Remember something. When you knock on a kid's door, you think it's just for craps and giggles, that when a kid maybe gets in trouble, that you may not have real life situations pop up in your face, and you've got to make a determination on what you think is in the best interest of the kid, and also at the same time, the best interest of the program. Just think about how that looks. If you didn't know the story, and all you read in the newspaper was football player at Florida, and head coach gives $250 for abortion. How's that? It looks terrible, doesn't it? What's a head coach of a university, a major power in the Southeastern Conference, giving money for an abortion? There's all kinds of legal ramifications and moral ramifications around that. You're in the South, remember that. Okay? Pro-choice, pro-life. You're in the South. I know the player, and I know the person. I know his wife, too. They made that decision then. What would you do if you were Galen Hall, the head coach of the Gators? The NCAA kicked him out, and if it wasn't for Joe Paterno to get him back in and petition to get him back into the game, he never would have gotten back in. Actually, Galen Hall was on the coaching staff, the final coaching staff for Joe Paterno when Joe Paterno was fired at Penn State. It began and ended basically with Galen. Galen was his first quarterback at Penn State, and he was his last offensive coordinator at Penn State. And Joe Paterno was instrumental in getting him back in the game. What would you do? What would you do? Art Browse is a good man. Hey, do me a favor. Go over to our website, podcasterwarehouse.com. Headphones, earbuds, microphones, anything that you need. 25% off of everything that's there for you. Okay? Shipping is free. Use the promo code Sileo. S as in Sam, I-L-E-O. That's S as in Sam, I-L-E-O. $5 to $5,000, whatever you want to spend. Please go to the website, podcasterwarehouse.com. That is podcasterwarehouse.com. I will hit on this Wentz news, I promise. We'll do it next. You keep it here on the Dan Sileo Show. It's a pretty good foundation. No, it's not going to happen. And plus, I don't like watching people die. No. Hey, all kidding aside. So Junior Seau, I had no idea what Make-A-Wish was. And that ain't something from, dude, I'm not a very, that kind of stuff kind of would play with me and it would be not a good thing for me. And so it's just, I couldn't handle that so I go into this place. Junior Seau takes me in. Hey, this kid, we have a great time. Guy goes like this. Yeah, the kid's got 2 weeks. I went, what? I go, Junior, don't ever do that again. Are you kidding? Oh, my God, it broke my heart. Well, on Skull Island, what we do with that is just like in Sparta. Yeah, you can. No, we don't have. We don't have. Oh, the Jerry Kong Labor Day Kongathon. 14 coconuts. Oh, I love the Jerry Lewis Labor Day Telethon. That thing was dope, man. He'd have all kinds of great celebrities. And I think he used to do it from the Sands, no? Because I think he used to do it from the Sands in the Sinatra room. Oh, it was a big deal. Yeah, it was a big deal. Huge deal. Huge. Huge. Yeah. I think Jerry Lewis lived there. Didn't he live in Vegas? I thought he lived there with like Wayne. I met Wayne Newton. He's a pretty cool dude. I got to tell you, man. I didn't. He was. By the way, he was like a boxer when he was younger. Yeah, man. He was a. He was a really good dude, man. I mean, like, get this, for a guy that was Mr. Vegas, he wasn't full of himself. Yeah. Dan Sileo, USA Radio. Let me get to this Wentz story, and I'm going to get to a guy who's complete waste of life. And I'll get to this guy here in a minute. You know, I probably shouldn't say it that way, but it rubs me so wrong how a guy could just blow up talent like that. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm probably being overstating this thing here, but you'll understand what I'm talking about. We'll do that. We'll do that in a little bit here. So Carson Wentz got some good news today. He's the quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. It was being reported first that he would be out 7 weeks this upcoming season. They just brought him into Indianapolis, and I was glad to see Frank Reich today also get an extension. My friend, the head coach of the Colts. You know why this is important? Here's why it's important. Here's a guy that was kicked out of Philly. Here's a guy that they did everything in their power to blame him for the failures of the Eagles over the last 3 years. Now, when you have an owner that meddles, you have a GM that kind of meddles too. Kind of, he does. You fire a coach who won a Super Bowl for you 3 years ago, and you wonder why your organization is in tatters right now, and you got a quarterback in there that you're praying is going to be good. Think about that for a second. You're hoping the guy that you drafted a couple years ago, last year actually, is going to be good. Boy, I'll tell you, it's like a politician. It's actually, you know, it actually is when you sign some of these quarterbacks. You know, when you elect the president of the United States, you don't know how he's going to be, do you? You're hoping he's going to be good. I tell people this all the time when you elect the president. You don't know if this guy's going to be good or not. We've seen so many guys where, watch this, you went and you read about him. You know, people said this about Lincoln when Lincoln was elected president. Hasn't he surprised you? People would say that in their own party, in his own Republican Party. Hasn't he surprised you? Lincoln had been beaten when he was running for senator against Douglas. He wasn't a very good politician, but he became America's greatest statesman. After the emancipation, everyone started going, what the hell is this thing? And then they started realizing Lincoln's greatness. You don't know what you get when you hire or when you elect one of these guys. It's the same thing with coaches, and it's the same thing when you draft a quarterback. You have no idea. You're hoping that these guys pan out. Like when you hire a coach and he was a former assistant, it's the same thing as hiring or electing a president. You're hoping he's good. You have no idea. You try to do as much due diligence as you possibly can. Then you got to look at the surroundings around you. Are you setting him up for failure or success? Carson Wentz had failure all around him because nobody wanted to give any kind of credence that this kid here was going to be a good football player. They wanted to take all the bows for winning the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. And they forgot in the end on building a great franchise, building a good business, building a good working environment. There's something to be said about people when you do your job and you look at someone in the face and you go like this. You know what? There's just something special about this guy. I told you that story yesterday. Josh Allen, who just got that $260 million deal. The best coaching he's gotten in his life, the best leadership that he has, and the best people around him is right now in his life in Buffalo. Sean McDermott, the organization. That's why he got $260 million. That's why that guy right now is, without a doubt, the highest paid player in the league. And nobody thought it. And he's from Wyoming. Oh, my God. Crazy. I'm glad to see Wentz. I want Wentz to go to – I'm rooting for Carson Wentz in Indianapolis. I am. By the way, in case you didn't notice, Lincoln's my favorite American. Just his own party hated him. And he did things that were impossible. To get that amendment passed to end slavery, incredible during that time. Greatest American that's ever lived. All right, we'll reset. Here's something that bugs me the most, wasted talent. I'll explain. Keep it here on the Dan Sileo Show. It gets you, buddy. Yes, indeed, Junior. Why would you say bank? See, what they were doing though was get this. The South was okay. The South wanted to surrender, but they wanted to put stipulations that they could still have slavery. And Lincoln was like, "No, I'm not doing that." See, you know why? And get this, that's why he did. But you know what else too? This is why Lincoln also allowed some of the Confederate statues in Washington, D.C. and around the certain southern states, because you know why? He didn't want them to lose their identity. And so at that time, it was more about Reconstruction. It was more about making sure the South didn't feel that they had lost their identity because they had lost the war. But then you couldn't explain that to anybody today because nobody really knows the historical presence of what some of those statues meant. They weren't honoring slavery. What they were doing was they were trying to take back in the South as a union. That's correct. Lincoln let them save some face. That's exactly what it was about, Chris. It was about face saving. Right. Well, that came with honoring their people. Now, look, should those things always be reevaluated? And, I guess, yeah, absolutely. That needs to go. Absolutely. And remember, Lee was offered the Union. He was offered to be the general of the Union. The only reason he did it, because back then it was more loyal to be loyal to your state. There was more state pride, and he was a Virginian. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, brother. Dan Sileo, USA Radio. Hopefully everybody's having a great night. I know I am. You know why? I'm in America and I'm talking to you. It's so great about this country. We get to do things like this or anything you want in your life if you want it bad enough. And you want to just keep driving forward to get what you want in life. I've been very fortunate. I've had super people behind me and in front of me. Can't do this or anything without a village. Say that all the time to people. You think you're on an island by yourself? You probably are, but you're probably not happy and you're probably not as successful. You're probably not as successful as you could be. It's okay to give credit when credit is due. This guy helped me. Isn't that funny how we're struggling with that today? To give people credit? What's so hard to do this? Hey, President Trump, great job when it came to the vaccinations. Hey, President Biden, thank you so much for getting them out the way you did for the vaccinations. I really appreciate it. Or how about this one? Here's the other one. Hey, you know what? How about Trump coming forward? Or people that were in, people that were in his cabinet saying this. Hey, you know what, man? We miscalculated. We're probably going to need more booster shots. And then how about this one? The Biden administration going like this. Yeah, the Trump administration's right. Instead, you got Jen Psaki saying today at the White House briefing that the president of the United States was telling people to inject themselves with poison. I heard that, almost fainted. Do you really think that's in the best interest of the United States of America? Your White House communications director saying that. Do you think that helps? Ask yourself that. Does that help? We were just talking about Lincoln or one of the greatest things I ever had happen to me is when I got a chance to go to the White House and meet Ronald Reagan. Whatever you think of Ronald Reagan, guy's a great communicator, talked to everybody. I really don't think he cared what your politics were. I think he just cared you were a good dude. It just seemed that way. How about this? Maybe the perception, I don't know from a can of paint personally, but maybe it just was the perception of just being around the guy that he knew everybody. I told you the story before, if you've ever listened to me. This guy knew the White House elevator operator's name, Willie. How's the wife Scout? Very good, Mr. President. Thank you for asking. She had surgery and she is doing very well. Thank you. I'm thinking to myself, like I said, I've said this before to you guys. I'm going, this guy knows the elevator operator. And he's talking to Gorbachev. It's crazy. It's crazy great. That means you pay attention to what people say, what their names are, who they are. I mean, I heard that today and I was like, are you kidding? Why? You have the job now. You don't need to throw stones at anybody. I used to hate it when Trump did that to Obama. Dude, you got the gig. Do you know what that would be like an NFL head coach doing? Watch this. NFL guy gets the job. And you know what he would say? What have you ever, as a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever heard an NFL head coach ever say this. But you hear politicians and people who become president of the United States say this all the time, don't you? Watch this. Say you're the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys and you're not having a good moment or whatever. And you go like this. Well, the last coach, his record was 4-12. Okay. My record's 10-7. Okay. I mean, we're winning here. His record. Have you ever heard that? I've never heard a coach ever do that. Coaches have respect for the people that came before them. People in politics have no respect for each other. They have no respect for one another. There's no line in the sand that you cannot cross in politics. You step over, step on, it doesn't matter. It's why it's ugly. Being a politician, no wonder the best people in the country don't want those jobs. No wonder you could be a comedian, a bartender, a reality TV show guy, or whomever, and get those jobs. Honestly. You think those people are the most qualified people in America that have those gigs, that are the most important gigs in the country? You know, I always question head coaches that get jobs in the NFL all the time. What's your background? What's your experience? You know, I did this to a guy by the name of Raheem Morris once. And the people on my social media pages and platforms right now could see this on my YouTube and on my Twitch channel. I held up a blank piece of paper, just like this, holding up a blank piece of paper. And I was in front of Raheem Morris, and he was just named the head football coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it was a blank piece of paper. And you know what I showed it to him. I go, do you know what this is? And Raheem Morris goes, it's a blank piece of paper. I go, it's your resume. How did you get this job? And Raheem went like this to give him credit, and I'm friends with him to this day. And I go, Coach, I'm not throwing shade on you. Maybe it was the interview. I went like this to him. Did you think you were getting fired? Because he was on John Gruden's coaching staff. Did you think you were getting fired when you walked in and met with Malcolm Glazer and you met with the higher-ups at the Bucs? He goes, yeah. Then they offered me the head coaching job. Did you think I shouldn't take it? This was live on the air. And I went, no, I would have took it. I would have took it for sure. Absolutely. Not saying that. But the questions that I ask about coaching candidates, how come nobody ever asked the questions about political candidates? You could be a bartender and become a House of Representatives member. You could be a reality TV show guy and be the president of the United States. What the hell kind of qualifications is that? How do we elect those guys like that? How do we put those people in power like that? You have the best people in America don't go for those jobs. They don't. I mean, that's why we had 2 80-year-old guys running for president. One guy's a billionaire, and the other guy, they made him do it. I mean, we do not put the best people in the United States of America. You know what they're doing? They're running Fortune 500 companies, making $300 million, on their stocks and their proxies. Who the hell in their right mind would want a job in politics? You got to be a career politician like Nancy Pelosi. Then you can have 17 houses like her. It's crazy. These people that are, you know why they get aggravated when somebody like Trump or somebody from the outside comes in? Because you're kind of seeing that these people make this job into being, how do you make $150,000 a year? How do you have 10 houses and 3 of them in Napa Valley? It's crazy. What is it, donations? Okay. Wow, that must be pretty profitable. It is crazy how you don't question people's qualifications for some of the biggest jobs on the planet. I mean, you could be like a non-educated person and get those jobs. Have any common sense about you. And I'm supposed to trust those people to tell me about vaccinations? Honestly, how do you look at those guys in Washington and go, when you find out their backgrounds, how do you trust it? Remember a year ago, too, both Biden and Kamala Harris were saying, I'm not taking any of those vaccinations, anything coming out of the Trump White House. Now they had to walk that back. Why do you think people are afraid to take it? You're telling me different things every other month. You told me initially you would never take anything from the Trump administration when it came to vaccinations. Now you walk that back. Why do you think people are nervous? Hell, you got a quarterback in Baltimore who's caught coronavirus twice in Lamar Jackson. He was asked yesterday. You know what he said? I don't know. I'm iffy on it. I don't blame him. I don't blame him. You're iffy on it. Of course you're iffy on it because the government's iffy on it. And plus you got people in Washington who are not qualified to make decisions like that. Dude, these politicians, man, have you ever looked at their backgrounds, what they did? Honestly, have you looked at their backgrounds? I did. I was like, I'm not believing this guy. This guy ran a Toys R Us. And he's a congressman? And he's telling me about vaccinations? Because somebody told him? Jesus Christ. Really? I'm not sold on that. I don't blame people. Why are you blaming people for not believing the people that represent us? As I said to you before, the people that cover us nowadays and represent us today, you don't represent me. You don't represent me. I represent my family. And that's the only political party I represent is the Dan Sileo house. I don't care what you do in your own political party in your home. I care what I do in my home. What we do, how we handle our lives, what we're doing next. Again, I just, I don't mean to go on these rants like this, but I put more emphasis in who's the next coach of the Steelers. Then I thought about this yesterday. I put more emphasis. Think of this for a second. I put more emphasis in who's the next coach of the Philadelphia Eagles than I do who's the next representative in the city of Philly. I do. Well, what did he do in Philly? Oh yeah, this guy he owned a couple bars in Philly. He decided to run for the House of Representatives and he won. Okay, so he had a lot of money. Yeah. Okay. I'm sure he's qualified. Trust these guys. How many people have you run into and you went, that guy right there, man, he really worked his way up? Now, I'll give you something about Biden here. Biden's been in Washington for 50 years. This guy was the vice president of the United States for 8. Okay, now he's the president of the United States. That's a pretty accomplished resume, whether you hate the guy or not. I'm talking, that's a damn good resume. Okay? That's a resume where you can at least go like this. How about like this? With at least you can go, well, this guy's been in Washington forever. Okay? I mean, at least I'll go with that. Instead of somebody going and telling me, well, she was a bartender in North New York and over in Manhattan. I don't know, man. It's like telling me, you know what I said about Brandon Staley, the new head football coach of the Chargers? Someone goes, what do you make of him? I go, I don't know. I never heard of him. What you don't never heard of? No, I never heard of him. I think he's a defensive-minded guy. I've really never heard of him. And I when I had Tom Telesco on my football show a couple months ago, I said to Tom, what so was it the interview? Was it a new way of thinking? What was it that you fired Anthony Lynn, who was a pretty accomplished guy, had gone up the ropes, was an interim coach at Buffalo, had a really good resume, believed in the running game, all that stuff. Anthony Lynn's got a great story. Anthony Lynn has a good background. Then you name this guy Brandon Staley, and I'm like, I've never heard of the guy. Or for that matter, too, the Eagles get Nick Sirianni. I'm like this. Nick Sirianni. You know how I know Nick Sirianni? He was a wide receiver coach in San Diego when the Chargers were in San Diego. And he worked under Frank Reich when Frank was the offensive coordinator with Phillip Rivers in San Diego. And I believe it was Tom Telesco that hired these guys. And I was like, yeah, well, I never heard of him. Outside of that, plus he's a Paisan. What? Hey, by the way, I'm going to get to this story of wasted talent. Got to get it to it. And don't forget, bottom of the hour, Chris Sims. Keep it here on the Dan Sileo Show. We don't do Pumas. See, I couldn't wear the guinea tees because I was just too big. Yeah. No. Yeah. I don't care if you believe me. Not a defense. It's facts. You can believe whatever you want to believe, Junior. No. Mario Lanza. My grandpa had Caruso and Mario Lanza in his basement. And Frank Sinatra. And a picture of Mussolini. I'm kidding. How come? What's that? I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, The Freshman. Oh my God, with Brando, it's hilarious. The kid walks in, and Matthew Broderick. He walks in and he goes like this. This is a very interesting place. He goes, I noticed there was a picture of, is that Mussolini back there? And he goes like this, it ain't Tony Bennett. And the guy goes, it's not hanging there for political reasons, is it? He goes, no. Some of the guys are sentimental for the home country. Yeah. That ain't Tony Bennett. You think that you think female viewers are going to turn off Chris Cuomo at yeah. Who, Chris did? Isn't he like their biggest star? Okay. Yeah, but how could you put Jeffrey Tobin on and then not him? I know. Out of the gate, too. Yeah, man. Or let them deal with the coronavirus. Why that? Yeah, he's poor. Zuckerberg is killing that station. Yeah, he is. He is. Wow. Dan Sileo, USA Radio Network. Wow, Chris O just said something about CNN, and he's right. You know, when Ted Turner owned CNN, it was the preeminent place to go for news. It really was. It was a great news organization. I mean, wow, they had so many quality people that would just give you the news. Chris just said live from Baghdad, and you're like, right. Desert Shield, Desert Storm, all of that. How many times were you glued into CNN when you were waiting for some type of news on Clinton? Man, now it's like it's like a op-ed network now. There's no news to it. Zero. I watched it the other day to see how they were covering that Cuomo case. And they're all over coronavirus. They should, and by the way, that's not a bad thing to be talking about that because it's important. But the Cuomo resignation was not front and center. I got to get to this story here. Chris Sims coming up in a couple minutes here. So I don't know if you guys know who this dude Alden Smith is. Alden Smith is going to be fired by the Seattle Seahawks. Guess he got into another confrontation with the police. I'm going to tell you about this guy here. So Alden Smith, his first 2 years in the National Football League, had 35 and a half sacks, 15 a year. I mean, you're talking over 50. He had 19, then he had 16 in his first 2 seasons. He missed 4 years of his career due to drugs and conduct behavior. The Cowboys gave him an opportunity last year, and the Seahawks signed him to a 1-year contract. I tell you something here because it reminds me of wasted talent. This guy's played and started in 53 NFL football games. He's got 52 and a half sacks. Only Mark Gastineau and Reggie White have had a career where they have a sack pretty much in every game they started. Here's a guy here that just can't get to the stadium. Here's a guy here you can't trust. Here's a guy here that you talk about wasted talent. The Cleveland Browns just signed a guy by the name of Jadeveon Clowney. And Clowney's never lived up to any of the hype that he came out of South Carolina with. You know the movie poster that they always have to promote movies? It's the poster's a little better than the movie when it comes to Clowney. This guy, Alden Smith, was absolutely a spectacular. But you know what people were saying when he came out of college? He felt entitled. He treated people like crap. He thought he was better than everybody. And you know what happened in the end? He never grew up. He never understood that when you're in a team sport, it's not about you at all. You have to fit in like a spark plug into the engine. You're not going to be any different of a spark plug because it won't fit. Isn't it funny? Every piece on an engine fits for a reason to make it work. Spark plugs, alternator, right? All of it fits for a reason to make that engine work. You're a piece on the engine when you're in a team sport. He never got that. You know, a lot of guys don't get that. They think they're better than the next guy. And that's why this guy's been fired and most likely run out of the league for the last time. All right. Hey, check out our friends at podcasterwarehouse.com. That's podcasterwarehouse.com. Headphones, earbuds, anything that you need to build your home studio. Heck, if you're just looking for headphones, they've got them there for you too. Studios, they've got all the equipment for you, chairs and tables. It's just absolutely a great website. Just go to it. Use the promo code Sileo, S as in Sam, I-L-E-O. That's Sileo, S as in Sam, I-L-E-O. Shipping is free. $5 to $5,000. That's podcasterwarehouse.com. That is podcasterwarehouse.com. We are going to talk with one of our dear friends, Chris Sims. We had Phil on a couple days ago. We're going to talk to Chris, get his thoughts on the upcoming season. He's next. You keep it right here on the Dan Sileo Show. Be right back. Cuomo-sexuals. Trav, be right back. ESPN. See, stupid people get the shit kicked out of them for a reason. See, stupid people just get the shit kicked out of them for simple reasons. Oh, don't worry, Kermit. You leap, I'll hit it. Yeah, don't worry, Kermit. You leap, I'll take care of it. You leap, don't worry, I'll take care of you, Kermit. With what? Your tongue? Don't worry, I had her. Yeah, I know. Yeah, how come she smelled like a pig pen? Yeah, no. She smelled like my foot. No. Yeah. Whoa, that's great. Wow. I bet Wayne would appreciate that. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Hey, that's a gift that keeps on giving. Hey, Clark, that's the gift that keeps on giving. Oh, wow. That's a way to set someone into a segment. I have to appreciate that. Dan Sileo, USA Radio Network. Incredible. Okay, I'm getting a message here. And by the way, the only way you can join the show is if you go through my social media platforms, YouTube and Twitch. We're doing things differently here on the Dan Sileo Show. We don't subscribe to trolls on the air. And Music Maker 21, hey Dan, any chance UM beats Alabama on the first game? Whew, wow. Why would you say that to me, man? Why would you do that to me? Ugh. It's just that Bama's been the best program in the history of college football the last 20 years. See, I'm not going to give them better than us because I had Ed Ogeron on my program a couple months ago, and I still agree those Bama teams could not beat us. They could not. We have more Hall of Famers since 2000 than any college football program in the country. It's a fact. Okay? We got 3 more next year. Devin Hester, Andre Johnson, Reggie Wayne. Those guys are going to be eligible to go in. So I just don't think, but they're dominating. Here, and this is where I'll tell you this, okay? They lost their, watch this, they lost their quarterback, they lost their running back, they lost their 2 wideouts, they lost 3 of the 5 guys in their starting offensive line, and they lost their offensive coordinator. If Miami doesn't show up for that game on Labor Day weekend, then we have a problem with the head coach and the program again. They've lost everything. Am I saying they don't have the conveyor belt of talent like we did back in the day? No. They're going to have quality people. But we can't get beat by 35, 40 points. You know what was different? And I'll tell you what Alabama has done that kind of reminds me of what we did. In my opinion, we had one of the greatest dynasties in the history of college football. Do you understand that we had a 58-game home win streak at home? Do you know what that means? We didn't lose a home game for 10 years. An entire decade where no one beat us at the Orange Bowl. Do you know how crazy that is? It's the only team close to us actually was Bobby Bowden's Florida State Seminoles. I think it was 57 actually, or 56, something like that. 58 consecutive. It'll never be approached again. Never approached again. And I get asked all the time. About this Alabama program. And the thing that they have that we had was this. When I walked onto a football field, I knew you were afraid, or I knew that you were intimidated. I knew because of the logo. It's not what I said. I talk trash. Everyone else on our program talked trash. But you know what Alabama has right now? When they walk onto a field, like Tom Brady. When Tom Brady walks onto the field, do you think he's intimidating? You would say, yeah, right? He's won everything there is. How could you not think that? When LeBron James walks on the court, are you intimidated? I mean, you should be. And I don't mean intimidated where you're not going to compete. I'm talking about, well, this guy's won it all here. I'm going against one of the goats of the goats. That's what Bama's created. Music Maker. They've created with Nick Saban that environment where, like, when you walk on a football field, I never at one time in my entire career at UM, when I walked onto a football field, ever thought you were beating me. Never in a million years did I ever think that. Now, I will confess, when I played in the FSU and Miami games, those games always came down. Those were the toughest games I ever played in college, were those 2 games. Those games, those 4 games were like the hardest. Those weeks of preparation were the hardest when you're playing against them 2 teams. Records, I know it's a cliche, but the records truly didn't matter. Those teams were great. I mean, freaking great and hard to play against. And by the way, it's funny. I tell my daughter this. She plays like D1, right? And she's like this. She goes, Dad, a couple plays. I go, are you under the assumption people at Arizona or Arizona State aren't good too? And she's like, no, they're good. I know. Well, the key is making better plays than them, more of them. And she's like, oh, yeah, that's the key to this. You're playing against good people now. You're playing against really elite people. So I know I'm not answering the question. And I'm not going to yet. Let's get closer to the game, Labor Day weekend. All right. So many great things going on in the world of sports. Just so many great things. We'll talk NFL. Exhibition football is right around the corner. We'll reset and keep it here on the Dan Sileo Show. Spread out. We go Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They don't play on Sunday during the exhibition season for whatever reason. Yes. You're going to get quite a few. You're going to get quite a few games tomorrow. You bought that thing? Okay, well then good. Well, if you have on your cable service, if you get an opportunity, if you ever look, if at home you have a cable service and it says DirecTV, let me know. I have a code where you can get for free at home. Let me check on the streaming. I know this. If you have a cable outlet, I have a code that you can have, that you can get it. All right.